Okay. Chapter 7, we're going to work on 7.1.3, the last section in 7.1, and we're going to do a little review along the way. So we're going to finish up talking about IP4, and then the next section we'll talk about IP6 and how to test connectivity. We already talked about the conversion, and now we talked about the structure. We'll review that, and then do a little review here and finish up with public, private, and reserved addresses. You remember the Unicast? We'll talk about these coming up, multicast. Alright, so let's get a little review. At NIACC, structure address, if you look at an address at NIACC, you'll see something that looks like this. In PC 229, 172.31.1, let's just say 86. Let us make up an IP address. Okay? If you look at the mask at the computers in the lab, 255.0.0. So what does that mean? If we take a look at that, you should now be able to say, well, this part is what? That's the network part of the address. Okay. This part is the host part of the address. Okay. Now we can make a lot of hosts out of here on this one network, just as an example. If I was to write another address, let's go this one, 172.31.0.84. Now we've used that address, that's the address of the work server. If I want to write the mask a different way, I could go slash what? Got it? Got it? 16. 8 bits here, 8 bits here. And so 16 bits, prefix, bits. Okay? If you look at the video before, it talks about this. You know, we talk about the host part of the network. Excuse me, you know, we talk about the network part of an address and the host part of the address. Network part, host part of the address. So the mask here, if I was to write it, would be 255.255.255.0. Talk about addressing a workstation, host address, mask, default gateway. Where to go if you can't find anything, go there, and then see where that takes you. Pretty simplistic here. So we're looking here now at an IP version 4 address, and again talking about now we've added to that the subnet mask, like I showed earlier. The subnet mask will help us determine what part is the network and what part's the host. And then we have this example. We have an IP address, we have a mask, and when we AND them together, the results give us a network address with 0 where the host would be. Right? So a router can take an address, you know, a simple, an address like this, and AND that with the mask. And when it ANDs it, we have the rules. You can see what comes out of it then is the network address. Right. Prefix length, I just reviewed that a little bit earlier. 8 bits could be a /8. Our network here on campus is this, so that'd be a /16, and they give common examples here of all the possibilities. Typically you would host, okay, we got network addresses, host address, broadcast addresses. Network address. So here we can see talked about this earlier. Here's the network address. Again, the host part is 0. Here's the network address, and that part then would be the same for all the devices on that network. So everything on this side of the router from that Ethernet going to this switch and going out, all those would have that same network part of the address. 10.1.1.0 slash, here would be 24. Yeah. Now the host part of the address, right there, 254, 12, 11, 10. Host part of the address. So these are all host addresses. They're on that network, you know, they're on this network, but we're indicating a host on the network. So in the host proportion, it's something other than 0. Okay, so it's some value greater than 0 in this case, in the host part. Alright, so we talk about the first host address, it's 1, and the last host address, 254. And the reason it's 254, we got a 0 there at the end, is the broadcast address would be 255. So, in the host part, if we're talking alright, okay, pick up where I left off here. The host portion of the address right here, that could be a 0, which would make that the network. It could be some other value, like 1 in this case up through 254. Then those would all be hosts, or if it's 255, all 1s, then it's a broadcast address. We'll see lots of examples of that as we move. Alright, the section we're going to talk about next, Unicast, broadcast, multicast. Let's get right in. Here we have a static assignment of an IP address to a host. Okay, there's that, there's the mask, there's the default gateway. We can also assign it dynamically, DHCP. Actually, that could be assigned here too. Okay, to the word. IP4 communication. A unicast is between two locations. Okay. Now in this picture here, it shows this one's communicating here, and then they're communicating back. A broadcast is where a particular device sends something to everything, communicates to everything, like we talked about an ARP, the broadcast. Okay? A multicast goes to particular ones, but not everything. Like in this case, we're going here and here, but not to here and not to here. A lot of what we do on the web, when we go to websites, is unicast. We send a request, let's just say it goes out here to the web, to some server, and then the server sends something back to us. Nobody else is involved. We send a request for a web page. They send the HTML back here, and our browser displays the web page. Alright, let's define this a little further. Unicast transmissions. Host-to-host communication. Unicast address applied to an end device is referred to as the host address. The source address of any packet is always unicast address of the originating host. And you can review that in the curriculum. Broadcast transmission. Broadcasts never go beyond a router, okay? But we can have a broadcast on one side of the router, like from this port on in, okay? And the broadcast then, if a device in here sends something, the broadcast goes to everybody. Multicast transmission. The host sends a single packet to a selected set of hosts that subscribe to the multicast group. We have a whole group of addresses for multicast. These are reserved for multicast. Alright. Done for that.